that eat this.
All things have to eat things, right? So, I mean, we are an unusual species in terms of our diet because we're highly omnivorous. We until started. I mean, there's a very complicated and long story. There's not one dietary story, right?
Yeah.
But there are different points in our human evolutionary history where changes in diet drove selection and caused changes. But right now, we are a very unusual creature that we are highly dependent on very energy-rich foods. We cook our food. We're the only animal on the planet that actually is obligate. We have to cook our food. If we don't, we get sick. We can't get enough energy. There are, of course, plenty of vegetarians on the planet today, but until recently, we were dependent on including animal products as part of our diet. That's also unusual for primates. So yeah, there are many, many, many shifts in our diet that were important in our evolutionary history.
What do you know an estimate of when the fire and cooked food became part of human evolution?
Well, that's a big debate. So there are some people, like my friend and colleague Richard Wrangham, who thinks fire began to be used around 2 million years ago. That's still kind of speculative. The oldest sort of archaeological evidence for fire that I think most archaeologists accept is around 1 million years old. But even then, it's very rare. There are almost no examples in the archaeological record. What is clear is that starting around 400,000 years ago or so, fire became much more common. And so the regular use of fire to cook food really sort of coincides with a group of creatures we call archaic humans. So Homo heidelbergensis is one of them. And of course, it had huge effects on our evolutionary history. Changed our guts, changed our brains, changed all kinds of things. Because fire, once you have cooking, you can get a lot more energy from food. You can decrease the parasite load of food. It changes our ability to be safe at night, so defend ourselves from predators. It was an extraordinary shift, but exactly when it happened, like so many other things in human evolution, it's very hard to pinpoint exactly without controversy.
So, like you said, fire became a big part of human evolution, and also the use of tools. Like most other species don't use tools. Like I look at chimpanzees, and they don't use tools or as many tools as humans do, of course. But what allowed us to be different in that aspect?
Well, first of all, I mean, it used to be thought that, humans are the only tool makers. And as you just mentioned, that's not true. Chimpanzees do use tools and they do make tools. They're just not sophisticated. But there are species of crows that make tools. I mean, tool using is not unique to humans. It's just that we use them to much greater extent and we're much more dependent on them. What enabled that is, must be a combination of cognitive evolution. So the ability to plan and think and innovate, right? Culture is obviously very important. I mean, just think about all the differences between the kinds of tools that cultures on the planet use, right? It's not that people in one culture are less intelligent than people in another culture. They just have different cultural traditions in terms of the tools that they use. So culture is also important. And then finally, the other manipulative abilities and sort of biomechanical abilities to make and use tools are also important. We have selection for long thumbs and shorter fingers, and for great, more of what's called a precision grip, and perhaps other shifts in our upper bodies that enabled us to make and use tools to throw things. For example, it's something that we've done a lot of work on in our lab. There are all kinds of modifications to our upper body that make us the only animal capable of throwing things hard and fast. That's a tool. So there's no single answer to that question. It's a variety of capabilities were selected for this.
And